that is why the children, the youngsters are in under big stress because they are thrown into this world and they have to grow there. Okay? Tell me why. So you can keep thinking about that. Okay? So it's time, I think, so we begin. So good evening, friends. Welcome. And today the topic that we are going to discuss is spiritual enhancement, a tool for stress management. I could see some of you have been coming for all these sessions by me, and you must be really under stress. So today you can be relieved of the stress. And I see some new faces, new friends. Now that puts me under stress now. Okay. So today what we are going to do is to have some ideas about this stress, and then what are the causes of the stress, and what are the symptoms of stress, and how to deal with that. Okay? And we have a little video clip also by Dr. Lisa, who speaks about the power of mind over body. It's a video clip of about 15-20 minutes. We may not play all that clip, maybe a few minutes at the end. And I think it must be available in the YouTube also. You can take the reference there later. So these are the pictures, very common. It's not very rare. Yeah, next. There are only 2 times I feel stress, day and night. Other times are fine. Yes. Stress is a common phenomenon. No one can escape from it, even small child. You know, once a little girl was sitting at the entrance as her father was coming back from the office, and she was sitting like this, so sad. And the father was surprised. "Oh, my darling sweetie, what happened? Why are you so sad?" Then she said, "Don't disturb me, I am in tension now." Why? What tension? These days your wife is not behaving properly. Well, just then the child got some beatings from the mother and she was sitting there. So stress is there everywhere. Okay? And stress management, it is not about getting rid of stress, but how to manage them effectively. So once you are experts in stress management, it doesn't guarantee you that you are going out of stress. You are going to be out of stress. Stress will be always there. And stress management gives you the techniques, the tools, how to manage it effectively. For effective management of stress, first of all, we need to understand it. Oftentimes, we don't understand what stress is. We need to understand it, and we need to detect its causes and to implement the ways to relieve it. Oftentimes, we are not aware of the causes of the stress. Again and again, we face the same situation in our lives. So once we identify the causes, perhaps we can be a little careful to avoid those causes so that we may be out of stress. Outline of the presentation: to understand stress, then to explore stress, to recognize various symptoms, physical symptoms, behavioral, emotional, mental, spiritual, and then we'll see some of those causes giving this stress, and then managing stress in healthy ways. There are several ways of managing stress, but all the ways are not healthy. Suppose one gets into alcohol, or one gets into some sort of drugs or any other things like that. So they think that it relieves them of stress, but is it really a healthy way to relieve stress? We'll see something of that. So managing stress, healthy ways of dealing with it for one's body, one's mind, one's emotions, one's relationships, and one's spirituality. And then management of time, especially for the youngsters and the students. This skill, if they know how to manage their time, 90% of the stress can be solved, experts say. And then finally, 10 practical tips to deal with stress. Alright? So at the end of the talk, you'll be experts in managing stress, and no long homilies will put you under stress after that. Okay? No matter how long it is. Okay, first, understanding stress. What is stress? The adverse reaction of the body and mind to excessive pressure of everyday demands and threats. Our body and mind react to the demands of our day-to-day lives. And these demands may be real demands, or it may be perceived demands. It may be a threat. Okay? So, the expert here, Richard Lazarus, he was a psychologist, a pioneer in the work of emotions, stress, etc. He defines stress this way. Stress is a condition of feeling experienced when a person perceives the demands exceed the personal and social resources the individual is able to mobilize. So the stress is a situation where an individual perceives, I have this much demands in my life today and I have this many resources to handle it. The resources may be my own personal resources or the resources I can mobilize with my friends, or it may be some economic resources, whatever may be. So on the one hand, the demands, on the other hand, the resources that I have. The next slide shows the demands and the resources to handle. When the demands are greater or more, or at least perceived to be more, then that results in stress. So the demands, the resources. When the demands appear to be more, greater than the resources that I have to handle those demands, then I end up in stress. These days, more realization that we are psychosomatic beings. What do you mean by psychosomatic? Psycho, spirit, psyche, and soma, body. These are Greek words. So we are beings where the body and spirit are so deeply integrated, intermingled. We cannot speak of our body and spirit separately. We cannot dichotomize these two. We are psychosomatic beings. So much so that when my body physically, I have some sickness, that affects my spirit and vice versa. So we are one unit of psychosomatic beings. You know, this is the doctors speak about patients at the operation table when they come for surgery, whether the person is really cooperating for the surgery. But actually the person will be under anesthesia. So he is not aware. She is not conscious of what's going on. But still they say he is cooperating with the for the surgery. Which means if the person has come to the operation theatre with full trust in God, in the medical system, and he has come in a very relaxed manner to the operation theatre, though he is in anesthesia, the body reveals the peace and serene mind state of the person. The tissues, the veins and the sinews become very relaxed, and it is easy for a doctor to make the operation, to do the surgery. On the other hand, if the person has come to the operation table with lots of anxiety, fear and unwillingness, etc., that is reflected in the body structure. No, the person is totally unconscious. He or she is completely under anesthesia, but still the state of mind is affecting the body. And that shows one example to show how we are psychosomatic beings. And as I said, later we have that video clip where the doctor speaks about the power of mind over body. Again, that will highlight the same issue. Actual researchers in this area and experiments are common from 1930s. Before that, we did not have, because only in the 20th century, lots of developments in the field of psychology has come up. And it's really a great gift and to humanity, because lots of things are going in our mind, in our hearts, in our feelings, emotions. What we see externally is just 1/10 of our personality. The 9 parts of our personality is hidden within, and we're not able to really verbalize it. And that is why the field of psychology is really a great gift to humanity. From bio-psycho-social perspectives, this whole study was started in the 1970s. So this stress management or emotional intelligence, all these things are of very recent origin, past few decades, as you see. Yeah. By the 90s, stress had become an integral part of modern scientific understanding in all the areas of physiology and human functioning. And the past 2 decades, lots of researches have been done in this area. Yes, I need not explain. Stressors. Now, stressor is the event that provokes stress. Stressor is the event which provokes stress. For example, physical dangers, exams, interviews, job pressures, financial problems, conflicts in personal relationships, and number of things. Any event which can cause stress, it's called stressor. And again, as we're going to see, an event need not be a stress for everybody. If the person personally feels I can handle the situation, that event will not cause stress to that person. Only when the person realizes or perceives that this demand or this pressure is too much for me to handle, then he or she will be automatically in stress. Short-term events, applying brakes to avoid accidents, taking the penalty shot, saving a drowning child. These are instant actions which can give us a stress. And when you drive, you know how often we get that stressful moment where we have to apply a sudden brake. And long-term events like marriage, divorce, unemployment, shifting to a new house, starting a new career, studies, planning for a child. No, all these things are long-term stress. And all these things are examples for stressors. Stress response, the natural reaction of the body. It enhances person's ability to face a challenge. When there is a sudden threat, immediately we react to it, and later we'll be sitting and realizing, was it I who did that? Suppose a dog is chasing you and there is a fence, and in that fear you jump over the fence, and after reaching the fence, when you realize that you are safe, you turn back and say, oh my God, this fence is 5 feet tall, how did I do that? If it's ordinary, simple occasions, if someone asks you to jump that, you will not be able to do that. So there, the body reacts to that particular event. How? We are going to see how our brain releases certain hormones that time. Yeah. It is the body's way of rising to a challenge, preparing to meet a tough situation with focus, strength, stamina, and heightened alertness. When the stressful event occurs, all these things are at our peak level. Suppose when you're driving, suddenly a child comes in something, you immediately apply your brake and you become very alert. And then your attention becomes focused and your stamina is increased, etc. It is a natural way of the body to react a stressful situation. Brain's functions at stress. Stress response system. Anyway, the next slide will explain how brain reacts to it. Hypothalamus is a little thing in the brain. It sends signals to the adrenal glands. And because of these signals, the glands produce hormones. And these hormones are known as adrenaline and cortisol. And these hormones are released to the bloodstream. So when I perceive an event, immediately hypothalamus activates. And it sends signals to the glands, and the glands produce these hormones. And adrenal also releases glucose and fatty acids to provide energy for fighting or fleeing. Either I should fight against a dog which is chasing me, or I should flee away. So for both, I need extra energy. So the brain commands the glands to release extra glucose and fatty acids into my blood, and I get the stamina and energy. Hormones make senses keener, memory sharper. One R is missing because my spelling is not sharp. Okay? Senses keener, memory sharper, and we become less sensitive to pain. And as I said, when you jump over the fence, suppose something scratched and it was bleeding, you will not realize that time. Only later we feel the pain and it was bleeding. So because we become less sensitive to pain, because all our attention was to avoid, to fight, or to flee away from that particular stressful situation. And it speeds up heart rate, breathing rate, blood pressure, and the whole metabolism. Blood vessels open wider to let more blood flow to large muscle groups, and it puts our muscles on alert. Pupils in the eyes dilate to improve our vision. The liver releases some of its stored glucose to increase the body's energy. So all these things are happening because of the brain's reaction to the stressful moment. And we start sweating, produced more to cool the body because lots of things are going inside. You know, one beautiful thing about the skin, I think I must say that. By the way, skin is the largest organ in our body. Usually if someone asks which is the largest organ in the body, we will not think of skin, right? And skin is giving the shape, and it controls the heat of our body, the temperature, etc. And without skin, we cannot have the structure. And there's a beautiful one-way control in our skin. The sweat can come from inside to outside, we all sweat. But fortunately, the liquid cannot go from outside to inside. I just imagine if you are in the swimming pool for some time, when you come out, you'll be like this. Right? What beautiful, the mind of God, clever God, you see. The sweat can come from inside, liquid, again, but the water cannot go from outside to inside. Okay. So the sweat increases that time to cool the body. All these physical changes required for a quick and effective response to the situation. So this nature has given this type of mechanism to be safe from the stressful situation. Yeah. Other hormones shut down functions which are not necessary at that particular emergency. Growth, reproduction, the immune system, all these hormones will be shut down because the whole energy of the brain and the body metabolism is focused on dealing with the stress. And that is why the chronic stress leading to sexual dysfunction, increasing the chances of getting sick. If I am continuously in the stressful situation, those hormones which are needed to deal with the stress, that hormones will be present. When those hormones are present, all the other required hormones will not be functioning. For instance, my immune system or my sexual functions, etc. If one is continuing to be in the stressful situation, all the other necessary hormones will be shut down. So I have this problem of sexual dysfunction, increasing chances of getting sick because my immune system is affected. Blood flow to the skin is reduced. That's why too much of stress will lead to skin ailments and skin diseases. Oftentimes the doctors ask us, what is the stressful situation? Did you change your job or did you lose your job? Something like that they ask. Because the stress can be easily reflected in our skin health. Long-term stresses cause continual release of various stress hormones, which can cause a depletion of energy storage, stress-induced hypertension, effects on metabolic process, and ulcers affecting digestion. All these things can come up when we are continuing to be in the stressful situations. Hampered growth, decrease in the testosterone levels in males, and irregular menstrual cycles in females, increased likelihood of infectious diseases. All these things are likely because the hormones which are necessary to deal with the stress are continuing to be present in our system. But the response should not overact or fail to turn off and reset itself properly. When the stressful situation is gone, again my system has to come back to normalcy. If it fails to come back to normalcy, then there will be an adverse reaction. Suppose I apply the brake when I see the child, but when the child is gone, etc., the situation is okay after 1 minute, then I must be able to come back to my normalcy. The brain has to rework, we are going to see. When the danger or perceived threat is finally over, the brain starts the reverse process by releasing different biochemicals. Earlier it released certain biochemicals, hormones to handle the situation, but when the situation is over, gone, now the brain has to release certain other biochemicals to neutralize, to balance the situation that occurred because of the stress. That is called the sympathetic nervous system, SNS, turns on the fight or flight response. Then after the situation is over, the parasympathetic nervous system, PNS, promotes the relaxation response. But unfortunately, for some reasons or the other, the relaxation process doesn't take place. So we are still in the previous state, and that will give us harmful effects. They try to regain the metabolic equilibrium between the stimulating and the tranquilizing chemical forces. If either of the chemical forces dominates the other, it causes internal imbalance, having serious consequences for the brain cells. We are going to see soon how the brain cells are affected in the stressful situation. Yes? Some stress hormones unfortunately remain active in the brain for too long, injuring and even killing the cells, affecting our memory and learning. That's why when we are in long-time stress, our memory is affected and our learning is affected, especially for our children and the youth. If SNS, sympathetic nervous system, dominates the other one, we need conscious effort to initiate our relaxation response and re-establish metabolic equilibrium. Suppose if the system is not able to come back to its normalcy, we have to artificially or externally create certain situation which would help us to relax. Some of these tips we will see at the end. Yes.